At some point in your career, you're going to have to work as part of a group or a team. So let's take a look at group communications. We'll start with the 3 C's: conflict, conformity, and consensus. Conflict is when 2 people disagree or butt heads within a group. And usually people would want to avoid any kind of conflict within a group. They'd say things like, we need to work together, our group needs to be harmonious. It is true that you don't want personal clashes within a group, but as long as the conflict focuses on issues, not personalities, it can actually be very constructive. Conformity is sort of the opposite of conflict. It means agreement to ideas, rules, or principles. It really, what I want you to think about is, are we all on the same page in this group? Do we all understand the context, the goals, the objectives of what we're trying to accomplish? And if there's too much conformity, you can have what's called groupthink, when everybody thinks the same way and nobody's thinking about any alternative courses of action or possibilities. Consensus is group support for a decision, even when some members have reservations. So your group may discuss a course of action, you might have some reservations, you bring them up, you focus on issues, not personalities, but maybe after the discussion, the group decides to go ahead with the course of action anyway. It's now time for you to sort of be a team player and move forward with it. Okay, what can happen if we don't have, if we have too much conformity, groupthink? Well, this can happen. This is the Pontiac Aztek. It is widely considered one of the ugliest cars ever made. It was made from, I think, 2001 to 2005. It was discontinued very quickly because it was so ugly, no one wanted to buy it. How did this car get made? It was made by General Motors. So we're talking about a major car manufacturer here, and dozens of people had to sign off on this car for it to go into production. Well, after the Aztek, GM got a new CEO, not just because of the Aztek, but they got a new CEO, and he brought the people together who had approved this car, and he said, individually, he said to each person, did you think this was a good-looking car? And each person said the same thing. No, I think it was butt ugly, and I didn't think it would sell. And he said, then why did you approve it? And every single person who approved it said, well, everyone else approved it, so I didn't want to be the only one who said no. Because around here, the squeaky wheel doesn't get the grease, the squeaky wheel gets fired, and I didn't want to cause trouble. So they were so concerned about conformity and harmony that they removed all conflict from their teams, and no one spoke out what they really thought about this car. They ended up manufacturing it. How do we avoid these situations? Well, there's a couple things you can do. First, in your initial team meeting, set some ground rules. Okay, what if someone misses a meeting or doesn't turn in their work on time? What are going to be the consequences? What if someone needs help finishing their work? How do they handle it? Who do they ask? What if there is a conflict and 2 people don't agree? Is it going to be majority rules? Are we going to have a team leader who makes all the decisions? How are these going to be made? So if you establish these procedures up front, then you can have a lot more harmonious and smooth running team. The other thing you want to think about if you're working in a group or a team is how to give feedback to another team member. Okay, when we say be descriptive, what we mean is be precise. Okay, don't exaggerate and avoid labels like, oh, you marketing people, you always go crazy with this kind of stuff. You don't want to say, oh, you did a terrible job on this report. What does that mean? I did a terrible job. Does that mean it was late? It was written poorly? Did I spill coffee on it? What does it mean? Be very, very specific. Speak only for yourself. You don't say, oh, the whole team thinks you did a bad job. Well, you're not the whole team. Okay? And you don't say things like you did a bad job. You use what's called I statements. Okay? If somebody wrote a report and you think the report is really, really bad, right? You don't say you wrote a really bad report. You say, okay, I understand you were in charge of writing the report. When I read the report, it concerns me. Okay? Because in the report, it says that we should overthrow the president and throw out the president and get a new one. And that concerns me because the president has a lot of power and I'm worried about my job. Okay? So what you do is you essentially, you blame the text, not the person. Even though they wrote it, we all know they wrote it, but you're softening a little bit so that you're not accusing them and you're not attacking them, because no one likes to be attacked. No one likes, you did terrible work. Nobody wants to hear that. So you might say something like, the text concerns me, or I appreciate you taking on the report and writing it. I was thinking it would make me feel a little better if we put this in and that in. Again, it's when you do this, it makes me feel this way. And it's sort of the business equivalent of breaking up with someone and saying, it's not you, it's me. You're softening the blow. Okay? So make sure when you give feedback in a team that you consider other people's feelings and you try to be nice and productive. And again, focus on the work, not on the person.